this looks fun.
It's a medium, not a genre. It's not part-time, it's a lifetime.
Hey guys, Baron is back, and who's ready for Monster Hunter Wilds? Like, as a long-time Monster Hunter fan, even before the game's truly gone mainstream, I am very much excited. But before this game comes out, I noticed that there's a special on Netflix, I don't think I've heard of before, called Monster Hunter League of the Guild, which is supposed to serve as a sort of backstory to one of the characters from Monster Hunter Worlds, Aiden. So I thought, hey, the game is almost out, might as well just talk about this movie. And I think the best way to do that would be by ranking all the monsters that show up in the movie. There's only 6 of them, and I fought all of them before. So, yeah, that sounds perfect. So, let's get our gear on, all those mushrooms with all the weird effects, and let's get this started right meow. So the first monster on the list is the Velocidrome, a little guy who really isn't something that's supposed to be the staple for the series. People want to think of like all the big crazy guys with all the big crazy attacks, which can easily like destroy an entire ecosystem if they get like too off course. This guy, he's just a little I'll do it before all that. So these guys, they like to go into like little packs. They rely on all of their like little friends in order to help out, and yeah, it's just the lowest because it's just super simple, and there's just so much more to offer in this series. And of course these guys have a place within like the entire gaming sphere of this stuff, as you will have to fight these like simpler guys before going on to the bigger guys, which makes sense. I remember having trouble with Jaggies when I first encountered those monsters, but with this guy, I can't even really imagine him like causing any big trouble for me. Anyway, in the context of the movie, I'm just like the first like guy that Aiden tries to combat with, and he actually like is failing pretty miserably. So he needs like help from this other hunter guy, and he's like, wow, he's so cool. And yeah, that's basically it for that. So yeah, very simple, pretty simple but effective role in the movie. And so I guess we'll move on to the next phase. So next up on the list of monsters would happen to be the very infamous Kungalala. A lot of people really hate these guys for their attacks, as a lot of, unlike all the other monsters that do all these cool, like really like powerful attacks, these guys just make your armor stink like heck. Well, unlike those people, I don't really have for like the types of attack. I don't like it because it's just really hard to fight. It's surprisingly has a lot of like parts of its body which are like really hard to hit unless you have a very heavy hitter on you. And I really like to use the dual blades. I mean, they're not that strong, but they're really effective for like dodging and stuff. But they will not help with some of the parts of this Kongalala's body, which means you could probably get like stuck in an attack if you get caught off guard, which has happened to me a lot of times when fighting this monster in particular. So with the story much farther into it, it's just Aiden and more members of the gang that he's built up happen to try and use traps on one in order to catch it. It's failing because Aiden is still like stubborn to like really think everything through, and more events happen to that later. But I might as well talk about the visuals of the film right now, because which is funny because Kangalala is not the prettiest face for Monster Hunter. the movie actually looks very similar to the games, except just a little bit more cinematic. Some of the facial expressions are kind of, but the movie actually has some pretty like good action choreography, which can be pretty fun to watch. So that's good, and we'll get to more of it later. So next on the list of monsters is the Tetsukabra. It's interesting that I'm putting this one here because despite all the like negatives I have for the Congalala, the reason I put it above the Velocidrome is just because it has more going on and I appreciate that about it. Well, the Tetsukabra, I just fought him so many times. It feels like I fought him like over a 1,000 times, so I just feel kind of tired of him. He's not a bad monster by any means. He has some fun attacks, and like getting rid of his weakness points and all those moves can be pretty satisfying as well. But at the end of the day, I fought you so much. There's only so much I can handle. But which I can just say, your jumps and stuff, I just can't really get into it as much as I did when I first fought you. So, in regards to the movie, probably the least impactful monster in the movie, surprise, and just shows up in like a little chase scene, like nothing too big, nothing too nothing too defining for the characters. I might as well talk about them right now. Aiden story is not something too stand outish. Just a simple, I really want to be a hunter when I grow up. I really want to take on the big guys. I don't want this simple life in this simple town. I want to do big things and stuff. And encounters a bunch of different people and stuff on the way. And at the end, gets notified as one of the greats, and one of the people who's sitting in that ship on Monster in the Worlds. So, with that being said, let's move on to the next one. So, next up on the list is the Devil Gel, but more people, including myself, like to refer to it as Le Pickle. So, I remember, even before finding this guy, hearing how he's like so crazy, how he's like the devourer of everything, how you have no chance of fighting against it until you have like super strong training, very great gear, all that. And it's pretty enjoyable to fight. It has some pretty scary moves. It can be pretty intimidating with its huge size, its very large hitboxes, and it's just generally a pretty great time. Nothing like too stand out besides like the occasional like dragon blight, and that's pretty scary when that happens. But besides them, like just a really big monster that's just overall pretty solid. Okay, so context in the movie, I'm glad this one's like better than the Congalala one because it's easier to introduce it into the story. The Congalala like capturing sequence gets occupied, the Devil Gel appears completely out of nowhere, and eventually, like first after being caught off guard, the whole team defeats the Le Pickle, but at what cost? It was so scary, and the like one hunter that was so on side of Aiden turns against him and says, "This is wrong. You're not fit for this. You're too irresponsible," and suffers from that thought, thinking that everything was for naught, and he wasn't prepared for a second until the hunter comes back and rewards him with understanding how strong he can really be. Might as well talk about some of the other characters. The titular hunter is once again pretty like standard fare, like no like type of mentor. Doesn't really vibe with him like at first, but then after a few like monster talk, they hit it off and they kind of enjoy each other more. Simply Hunter enjoying Aiden, but yeah, so he's pretty fine with that. And we'll be moving on now. So my second favorite on this list of Meowsters is the Nocilla, as Nocilla is a monster that isn't nearly as hard to fight against as the Dojo, but it's just really fun. It's like one of the funnest monsters for me to fight because like the attacks are just so unique. Like I'm pretty sure she's like one of the only spider monsters in the game. Like even with crab monsters we have two, but and like all the web attacks, the poison attacks, like dropping attacks, the ceiling attacks, the wall attacks. It's just a lot of, it was just so much fun to like experience for the first time, and even on other tries, it's really fun. Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate like introduced a lot of really fun to fight monsters. The Catcher Watcher is also really good, but that feels like more of a deep cut. I'm not really surprised that wasn't in the movie, but I'm glad this one was, because this one's pretty fun, and for those reasons it's up here. Anyway, context in the movie, this is like a monster that our heroes have to fight in order to come across this like really great hunter, as she left a journal a bit away which this fellow feline found, and they have to deal with the Nocilla in order to get her help and stuff. And gotta say, it's probably my favorite fight in the movie. Like, there's so many different dynamic camera shots. The cocoon looks a little goofy the way it moves around, but it's paced pretty fun, and it's just it's pretty engaging and stuff. Might as well talk about these two other characters. The Hunter Woman is just like, I'm really strong and stuff. Spoiler, she gets sacrificed. She does sacrifice herself in the end. Or it's less of a sacrifice and more of just she was unfortunately like taken out. At least she did in the final fight, so it feels more rewarding. And the little feline guy. Despite while it's being like promoted with actually voice acted feline characters instead of the text, this cat can talk, and he does do quips, and he does say funny stuff, and he is kinda there just to be adorable. But I mean, he does his job on it, even like with the book thing. He does have story relevance, which is cool. So let's move on to our final thing. So my favorite of the Meowsters from this movie, and the only Elder Dragon, is the Lunastra. I was kind of surprised by this choice of a Meowster, as compared to all the other Elder Dragons, this one isn't nearly as wouldn't seem nearly as easy of a choice to add in as the Fatalis or even Teostra. But I'm glad they chose it, because this one is a very fun monster to fight. I think I actually like this one more than Teostra, despite being pretty similar in nature. I really like the blue fire and like powder effects. How like it's just so much of like fight against just watching your toes and stuff. It's pretty intense, as an Elder Dragon fight usually is. And I very much enjoyed it, and I'm glad I was in this movie, and I'm glad I could experience this like special blue kitty cat. And in the context of the movie, it's like the big final fight. They take it out by flooding it, by like making it drown in a huge dam explosion. And it was, I kind of expected, I didn't expect to take him out that way. They didn't expect to be taken out that way as well. They tried to use a Dragonator. And it was a pretty, like, satisfying way to end the little event. Some people lost their lives. There was this one blacksmith guy who used to be a hunter, but changes to hunting knowing to either die a hunter, then dies a hunter. And it's all pretty cool stuff. Yeah, despite this movie, like being kind of a generic story, um, it was pretty fun in these aspects. So let's conclude this video. So we've been on quite a journey, haven't we? We encountered how Aiden has become the Aiden we all know and love, how he turned into Monster Hunter rather than boy, how he became big powerful role model for younger sister, then big disappointment for younger sister, and it's been really fun going through this with you, and I hope you guys are excited to go to the wilds in Monster Hunter Wilds. So with that being said, you'll see this artist later. Wait, I've been a cat this whole meowing time? Why didn't no one tell me this? Oh gosh. I feel so out. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive, keep on surviving. I'm a survivor, I'm not gonna give up, I'm not gonna stop, I'm gonna work harder. I'm a survivor, I'm gonna make it, I will survive, keep on surviving.